Welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. Along with me is the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley. He's the one with his thumbs up right now and wearing that white hat. What's that hat for, Ross?
That's Kenny Singleton's Cool Kids Golf Tournament.
Very good.
Yeah.
You come up for that every year, don't you?
Every year, yes, sir. That's great charity event. A lot of fun.
I was expecting you to say great food.
Food as well. Everything. Food, drinks, golf.
How's Kenny doing, by the way? How's Kenny doing?
Matter of fact, he's down here now. He's down here for a little bit, and he's doing well, getting his place repaired and everything taken care of. So he's doing well.
Please tell him Luke and I said hello.
We definitely will do that.
All right, that Luke is Luke Jackson, managing editor of PressBox, PressBoxOnline.com. And guys, I just wanted to give you a set the stage, Ross. I should have told you this off the air, but we got blabbing away. We're going to do this week. We're going to do next week. Then we're going to come back around the baseball winter meetings and chat a little bit, and then take a couple more weeks off. And then once we get into January, we're going to go full bore again. Does that work for you?
Yep, that's great.
Okay. All right. Ross Grimsley, Stan the Fan, otherwise known on the email as Cyan the Fan. I made a typo on that. I don't know if Luke picked it up. Cyan the Fan. But we're here to talk some baseball, World Series. But before we get into that, the Orioles released some news the other day. That longtime head trainer, and he'd been with the organization for a long time, and was my trainer, Ross, back in 1992 at Oriole Fantasy Camp when he was just sort of starting with the organization.
I might have been there. I might have been there for that.
And we had a lot of fun with Brian Ebel, and I liked Brian all these years. And when he got the head training job, when Richie left, I really was happy for him. Thought he did a terrific job.
Right.
I'm not asking insights into why he would have been let go, but could it be just as simply that the club's failure the last 2 years in the playoffs made Mike Elias think everything's just a little too cozy? I gotta change things up. You notice he's changing a couple coaching positions. Could it be that simple, or did they suddenly think that Brian didn't do a good job?
Yeah, well, you had a lot of injuries, and I guess they got to point the finger at somebody, which is
really. I mean, Mike's a pretty smart guy. There's not one injury he can't pin Jorge Mateo's separated shoulder, or Jordan Westburg breaking a finger, or Ryan Mountcastle getting hurt, or Grayson Rodriguez, or Kyle Bradish, Danny Coulomb. None of those injuries are Brian Ebel's fault.
Oh, no, absolutely not. That's not the trainer. You know, and knowing Brian the way that most all of us do that have been around the organization for any time at all, know the kind of guy he is and how he feels about health is obviously the number one thing, and he does it. He's always done a good job, and just the way the game is today is creating a lot of injuries. I tell you what, if Ohtani, he has a slight dislocation of his shoulder, they may outlaw sliding in the bases now. So, I mean, as bizarre as that sound, all the other crap that they do. But Ebel did a good job, and I just, and it just looks to me, you get rid of coaches. Well, now you got rid of Gonzalez, who was a bench coach, and two assistant guys. Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me unless they were overstepping their bounds and saying something else that the head guy would want done or not done or whatever. And there's a lot of different things, but seeing what happened over the season and compared to last year when they were real good, this year I think the league caught up to them, made some adjustments. The guys weren't able to make readjusting, and you got what you got.
Luke, you have any thoughts on Ebel's dismissal?
No, I don't have any idea why that could be the case.
I think there's a lot of people that sort of have a chagrin look on their face, like don't understand it. The the bench coach position that Freddie Gonzalez has had for the past 5 years.
Mhm.
Luke, do you think that's a foregone conclusion that is Buck Britton, or would somebody like a Skip Schumacher, former Marlins manager who won Manager of the Year last year, could be a candidate for that? Or do you think either way, either of those two hires, people would be saying, well, they got Brandon Hyde's successor on board now?
Yes, you and I were talking about this, I want to say a couple weeks ago, and what we landed on, and we haven't heard anything on the coaching search front yet, was that we didn't know what Mike and Brandon exactly were looking for out of the bench coach position, and and why that could possibly be different than what they were getting from Freddie. And we just don't know. And we it'll be easier to connect the dots once that hire is made. And once we see what kind of profile that person is. And just right now we're kind of in a wait and see mode.
Ross, is Skip Schumacher, is he somebody you've totally sort of missed bumping elbows with altogether?
Yes. No,
Okay.
I never had an opportunity to do that. Gonzalez, I was aware of. I'd been against him in different levels of the minor leagues. And baseball guy, we've had him on the show. I mean,
Very good baseball guy.
yes, and that, I mean, you kind of scratch your head what you know what could have happened, but again, we may never know because everything is so tight-lipped around the warehouse. So
I just think it's and again, with the evil thing with these coaches a little bit, because the two hitting coaches, they were the same hitting coaches that led you to 101 victories the year before. I just think Mike Elias kind of said to Brandon, I want some new voices around
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and I think it's easier to we were talking about connecting the dots. Probably easier to do that right now with the hitting coaches, just because. And look, these are the same hitting coaches, as you said, Stan, that led an offense that was first in with runners in scoring positions last year. But in the second half, in particular, this past season, really, really bad situationally. And it was easy to see that they became very home run or bust oriented. And it's probably a little easier for fans and media alike to see why the Orioles would want a different voice at the hitting coach positions. We'll have to see whether that's more of a changing the messenger or tweaking the philosophy. That'll be easier to tell once we figure out who the hitting coach will be. But it's probably a little easier to tell right now why they wanted to go in a different direction with the hitting coaches, just because we saw the second half. We saw what the offense
they didn't
looked
get
like.
rid of the main hitting coach, did they?
They got rid of
Got
two.
rid of both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, one of
So
them,
there's
they let
no.
go of. One of them they let go of, and the other one they were very comfortable with him going back to his previous organization and getting their major league job, assistant hitting coach.
So they have no hitting coach
They have
whatsoever.
no hitting coach.
Well,
Well,
I
They
thought
have
there was.
the wait a minute. They have the offensive
Yeah,
planning strategy coach,
yeah,
right?
strategist.
Yeah, strategic strategist, right? What's his name, Luke? Do you remember?
it's Cody Ashe, I think.
Cody Ash, right?
Cody Ash.
Okay.
Hey, he's been around a little bit, so
Yes,
yeah.
he has been. Yes, he has been. And it'll be interesting to see whether they go to a couple more of these young guys from an academy or whether they settle on an ex-player. That seems to be more and more, Ross. The old way of thinking is to have a regular one guy as the hitting coach and his assistant helped you a little bit. Now it seems like they like these tandems where maybe they can't quite pin the blame on them as easily.
No, I tell you what, and that's good. That's good to have a guy in the bullpen that's a former pitcher. But what happens, and it happens in hitting too, those guys will go and get another opinion from the assistant guy, which you don't want. You
Right.
want to be on the same page. Now you've created a problem. Well, you should hold your hands here. Well, I don't like that. Well, you should hold your hands down here from the
Yeah.
assistant guy. That very, very possible, can happen. So you got to be careful with that hitting and pitching, and you get two different philosophies, and that never works. That's a
That
lot of confusion.
that brings me up to something. Luke, we have not heard, and I was almost going to ask this question of Mike the day after the season when they held that exit
Right.
press conference. We
Mhm.
haven't heard one word about Chris Holt. And I'm guessing, it's just my conjecture, that he's not going to be back with the team. But do you think the, you remember when Dan Duquette was here, Ross,
Mhm.
right? Remember Rick Peterson was
Yep.
he was the roving minor league, he was the pitching coach of the organization.
Right.
And yet he was usurped at the major league level by the major league coaches and Buck. But I think that the appropriate way is to have one pitching coach that leads that he's the guy that's the main pitching coach for the whole organization, teaching the way we as the Orioles like to do something. Do you
That
think they have that right now?
I have no idea, but Holt was supposed to be the guy that was the big league pitching coach, last year?
He was for a
I
couple
mean,
years, 2 or 3 years.
23, yeah. And a new guy, but he was in charge. If you get your minor, you want to get your minor league, everything you do at the minor leagues, you want to, be consistent from AAA to A ball and be able to, move into the major leagues it's always been that way. It was when
But
I was,
we never heard one word about him all season long.
no.
Is that my conjecture? Did you pick that up, that somehow he was just ended up being sent there because he had another year on his contract, and that's what that was about?
I don't know. He had started as like the minor league, as you said, like roving coordinator, sort of the pitching guru of the organization, and he slid back into that role this year. If by all accounts, based on how the Orioles pitchers did while he was with them, he did a nice job because I think he started in 21 and they were really bad on the mound, and then they got a lot better in 22, and then they got a lot better in 23, and he was there for all that. And they decided to go in another direction for whatever reason. And by all accounts, Drew French did a very nice job. Now, Drew French comes from the same
He comes
Astros
from the
sort
same
of,
tree, right?
sure, yeah,
Yeah.
so sort of the same tree as Chris Holt. So it probably wasn't as big of a move
And
as we thought.
it was stressed when he was brought in that he had been hired by Holt there, so there was a feeling that Holt was still the lead dog, and he was bringing in one of his people at the major league level to smooth that whole thing over.
Yeah, and I mean, and in terms of how it connects back to the hitting coach positions, we're just gonna have to see who they bring in, and it'll be a lot easier to see what direction they're going. Maybe it comes from the same sort of Astros process oriented um, tree as you mentioned, and it's just basically changing the messenger a little bit, or maybe it's something where it's as I said, maybe a little tweak in philosophy.
Okay.
But we'll just have to see. We just don't know yet.
All right.
It's very important to have a minor league coordinator, hitting, pitching, whatever, especially hitting and pitching, that is on the same level. He's basically saying the same thing at the minor league level they would say at the big league level in a roundabout way. But you
Yeah.
want it very similar, the basics and the hitting as well. But if you don't have that,
Well, that
and
was
I
what was
think
so that
I
was
think
what
Holt
was
did that. I think Holt did that as a major league pitcher and in charge of all the minor leagues too. That's too much, but it's
well.
so important to have it, everything together on the same wavelength because you're good organ. Atlanta, I was with Atlanta for a year, and that was fantastic what they did.
Yeah.
And the Orioles of old, and the
Well,
Reds,
that was what was disconcerting during the Duquette era. Was Duquette wanted Rick Peterson to be that voice, and Dave Wallace and Don Cheedy and Buck. Rick Peterson told me this. He said that when I would talk about philosophy, they looked at me like I had six heads on my shoulder. And you
yeah,
can't
no,
have that. You can't have one guy having one guy in the position, and your people that really get to actualize his vision are going, don't pay any attention to him, you know. and that's what was going on there. And
You know,
I didn't like it then, and I hope that they streamline this to where there's a pitching coordinator that does teach one way, uh, and one way only. I
yeah,
think
well,
that's
you get the basics down. I mean, that was the same thing, Stan, as Mazzoni. Mazzoni was in the minor leagues for seven. I was over there when he was in the minor leagues, and there was a way they did things, and the same guys that were doing it at the minor leagues ended up in the big leagues with him.
right.
And that's what they did, and they were very successful. And I knew when he came to the Orioles, they weren't going to go for that because
Right.
it was so
It was so
they just
different than what
they didn't understand it. And you know what? A lot of the pitchers did that exact same thing, and they didn't even know it.
right.
You know, and that was they just know we don't like that. It's too much, blah 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 blah, whatever. But
Right.
there's a way to do it.
Hey guys, we had intended to talk this pretty much 90% of the program. We're now cut talking about it half the program. Let's get the Costas in spot in, and then we're going to talk about what's left of the World Series that picks up Game 3 tonight in New York City in the Bronx. And we'll talk about the Dodgers and their 2-0 lead and whether we're facing a real chance of a sweep scenario in this 2024 World Series between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees. But first, those are two pretty darn good teams, and we're going to be talking about one pretty darn good restaurant, and that is the Costas Inn, located at 4100 North Point Boulevard. Fantastic restaurant, a landmark restaurant in the area. And one of the things I've pointed out over the last 6 months or so is ever since we had the Key Bridge collapse, a lot of the people that came regularly to the Costas Inn, maybe once a week or even, 4 times a month or something like that. The people from Arbutus, Catonsville, Glen Burnie, that whole area out there, the Westview area, they would just simply hop on the Key Bridge and they'd be over to the Costas Inn in 20, 25 minutes. That now is like probably, I've been doing this commercial, it's probably now more like an hour and a half to an hour and 40 minutes than it is an hour and 15 minutes now from out there. The traffic's just really pretty intense on our beltways right now. And I understand part of it is this whole idea. They're now building on 695, Ross and Luke. They're building toll lanes where you can drive, less traffic. So it's going to be quite a mess the next couple of years on our highways. Anyway, you didn't want to hear that in a Costas Inn commercial. So what I'm saying though is, if you live around the Costas Inn, Middle River, Essex, Dundalk, Barrows Point, you may want to check out the Costas Inn. You haven't been there for a while. A lot of us fall in and out of love with the restaurant. Check out the Costas Inn. Great nightly specials. You can do a crab cake dinner. I think it's a half-pound crab cake for under $30. It includes 2 sides. And you can't beat that at the Costas Inn.
It's a real crab cake.
That's a real crab cake.
It's not a Maryland crab cake down here.
That's right. No, they're a little fluffy, aren't they? They're a little fluffy.
Really, they got crab in it.
They got a little bit. The Costas Inn's got a lot of crab meat.
Yes, they
Anyway,
do.
great crab soup, great steamed crabs, Monday through Friday, great nightly specials. Check out the Costas Inn. We give it 6 thumbs up on this program. 6 thumbs up. That's my point. Can you lift yours a little, Ross? There we go. 6 thumbs. Well, Ross has big thumbs, doesn't he, Luke?
I got fat thumbs tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they're long. That must have been how you grip the ball. The Cuellar
I got little hands though.
Cuellar had big hands, didn't
Yes,
he?
he did.
Yeah. All
Yes,
right.
he did.
All right. Luke, the World Series. I'm not patting myself totally on the back yet, but because I picked the Dodgers in 6. I feel like I should have picked them in 4 right now. How you feeling about this series?
Yeah, I picked the Dodgers in 7, and then you texted me like an hour before game 1, and you were like, "Well, how are you feeling now?" I'm like, "I'm thinking Yankees in 7 now. I'm thinking the Yankees pull this one out, and now I'm thinking maybe Dodgers in 5 now." I think the Yankees still have a really good opportunity to send this back to LA. The pitching matchups are going to be on their side in this 3-game set in the Bronx. They've got a real good chance to get back into this tonight with Walker Buehler going for the Dodgers, and you just really don't know what you're going to get out of Bueller at this point. And really, if they can get the Dodgers can get 4 or 5 innings out of him with still stay in the game, I think that after an off day, they'll be happy with that and activate the bullpen from there. And then they got a bullpen game
They'll
tomorrow,
pitch a
and we
complete
saw what
bullpen game tomorrow. The
yeah,
Dodgers.
and the Dodgers have some really good relievers, but that's a lot of ground for relievers to cover. And we saw what happened when they tried that against the Mets the first time around in game 2. They were much better with it in game 6. So, and then in game 5, it'll be Jack Flaherty, and that'll be the Yankees' second look at him in 6 days. So I think that the Yankees have a real good opportunity to at least take 2 or 3 here in the Bronx and send this back to New York. I don't think this series is over by any stretch. However, they need to get the big boy going. They need to get Aaron Judge going. And I think that the Yankees were good enough to get by Cleveland and Kansas City with Judge just being okay or less than okay. They're not good enough to beat LA with Judge performing like this. They need maybe not the full regular season Aaron Judge, but they need something close to it. And if the Yankees are going to get back into this series in the Bronx, Judge is going to have a say in it. I don't think there's any way around that. And even with Judge playing the way he is in the postseason, they were really close in those first 2 games against the Dodgers. I mean, they're one hitter away in game 1 from taking that game. And in game 2, they're really close again to at least sending that to extra innings. So, but they obviously need to get Judge going.
Ross, Dodgers up 2-0 in this series. I want to get into some tactical stuff that Aaron Boone did mostly in game 1.
Oh yeah.
But I want to talk. How do you feel that the Yankees are sitting right now? I don't think they're sitting too good.
No, who would have thought that Flaherty would have thrown the way he did?
Mhm.
Yamamoto pitched the way he did. That's the reason I went with the Yankees in 7 because I thought they would beat up those guys. And now Bueller, who hasn't thrown very well, and who knows what he's going to do, but he has the ability to do it. The Yankees, without Judge swinging the way he can swing, Stanton will come through. Don't pitch to Soto. Don't pitch to him. I think the other guys are you can pitch to them. The Yankees will make mistakes. We've seen that. Their outfield defense is adequate. The bullpen, you kind of guess what you're going to get when you run some guys out there. Now you got a couple guys that are going to do the job most of the time. But overall, I think the Yankees are in a situation where they're in some problems because the big guy's not hitting. And if you pitch around Soto and not let him do any damage to you, you might see a sweep.
So let's
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. Oh yeah, I just wanted to
Okay.
mention that one thing that Ross had mentioned really throughout the season was that the Yankees are not particularly buttoned up. They make a lot of silly mistakes throughout the course of a ball game, and as I said,
That key mistake was on the Soto relay
yep,
to second base.
yep,
And you're saying somebody should have been backing him up. To me, the real sacrilege in that play is that second baseman Torres has got
right,
to go meet the ball.
right,
He
and
can't let it go to that.
second base defense has been an issue all year for the Yankees. And then it was also an issue, I think an inning or 2 later, they had Cabrera at second, and he couldn't corral a ball
Right.
that eventually
Yeah.
helped get Freeman to the plate. But
Yeah.
Ross has been saying really all year that the Yankees are not particularly fundamentally sound.
No, they
That's
don't run the
100%
bases
true.
well. They
Yeah.
don't run
As their radio play-by-play man John Sterling said, they run the bases like drunks. And so the Yankees were good enough, talented enough
And
to
Earl
get
Weaver knew, and Earl Weaver knew something about drunks, didn't he, Ross?
Hey, you're insulting drunks now.
So the Yankees are good enough, talented enough to get by Kansas City and Cleveland playing like that. They're not good enough and talented enough to get by Los Angeles playing like that. Los Angeles is a lot more buttoned up.
Yeah.
I thought, Ross, that the key play in game one, and it's funny, in the post game show with Alex Rodriguez, Big Poppy, and Derek Jeter, they ended up taking shots at Boone for not sticking with Garrett Cole longer. I thought the bigger problem was what in the world he was thinking. He's had this guy Tim Hill, who granted
I-
was horse duty with the White Sox, but he's been fantastic for them for the last 30, 40 days. And you have a situation where Otani's up. I understand you want to bring a left-hander in, and your next move, if you get Otani in that key situation, is going to be to walk Betts and pitch to Freeman. Well, I have to give Big Poppy, I don't give him a lot of credit, but he said
Yeah.
the other aspect of bringing Cortez in is Cortez is not a relief pitcher. Tim Hill is number one. He throws at an arm angle that's going to throw left-handers off a lot
Big
more
time.
than Cortez. So your thoughts on that?
Cortez has pitched out of the bullpen one time in the last 3 years. That was September the 7th. He pitched 4 innings. He did give up no runs and no hits and got the win against the Cubs. But Hill
But this is a situational lefty.
absolutely. I mean, it's and Cortez doesn't have great stuff. And the fact that he threw a first pitch fastball middle in with runners in scoring position was absolutely something you can't do unless you got to locate it. And I saw a comment that he made that the ball was inside. It should have been up a little bit more. Hey, you don't pitch inside late in the game just because of what happened. You don't, with men on base and the left on left, or even right on right. Most cases, you're throwing a breaking ball first pitch because just like Freddie Freeman said, I'm looking fastball. He's trying to get ahead of you. With guys on base, he's trying to get ahead. It's one of the things we always told relief pitchers coming into the game. But Hill has got a 0.75 earned run average in 14 games. He's given up 1 run in 12 innings. Now, he does left-handers this year were hitting, I think, 273, and right-handers hitting 303.
Okay.
But
a lot of that was the numbers when he was with the White Sox.
Yeah, and I think Freddie Freeman is 1 for 3 against him. Otani was hitting 167. I think he's 2 for 12. But the fact that you bring a guy in that hadn't pitched since September the 18th, and then you got a guy.
I just thought it was really.
That's the guy's. Hill's job is to come in and get left-handers. I mean,
he's done
it. He's done it all year for them. And that was just. I'll tell you what. If they happen to lose, the Yankees lose this, I would seriously think Boone has got he's made some moves this year and last year, even though the team wins and gets. That are questionable, and that the other night was big time. You want to win the first game of the series, and you do that. I think you're trying to do something that you shouldn't try to do.
Luke, your thoughts on the Cortez thing, and then we'll talk about Garrett Cole.
Yeah, you and I were texting during that sequence of events, and we just assumed that Hill was going to come in. And we saw that Hill and Cortez were both warming up together. And we were like, okay, that's strange. I don't know why Cortez would be an option here. I would have gone with Hill. And the next day, he goes to Hill for one of the Freeman Betts, Otani Freeman Betts pockets. And he ends up getting Freeman out in 2 pitches. Hill, that is. Yeah. And so I think that Hill was the move there. For all the reasons that you guys stated. I was surprised to see. Now, I will say this, that one of the things that will get lost is that Cortez did get Otani out and with the help
Yeah,
of
on one
remarkable,
pitch.
with the help of a remarkable play by Verdugo, which of course will be lost to history now. But
Yeah.
couple of really great games to watch.
Yeah, they were.
Yes, they were.
Ross, I thought, given the Garrett Cole that I've seen, that Rodriguez, Jeter, and Big Poppy were talking about him as if he was Cy Young Garrett Cole. And I thought, given the fact he missed half the season this year and he made 17 starts, that 85, 88 pitches was kind of where he's at, because I don't want him pitching 110, 115 pitches in game one at this point in his career.
No,
Go ahead, Ross.
No, he doesn't have the same stuff that he had. Even missing half the year, that's obvious that he wasn't going to do that. So you got to keep an eye on him. They did hit some. They did miss a few pitches. And Drev Otani got under one the first inning that could have very easily been out of the park. But he doesn't have the same stuff due to the injury. And if you try to stretch him out, and you're asking for a problem, and that's just because of the situation that he's in, that missing what he missed this year, half the season, and you expect this guy to pitch like a former Cy Young Award winner, and that's just not going to happen in most cases.
All right, let's wrap it up. Luke, you think they get back in the series, the Yankees?
I think they've got every opportunity to get back in this series. I don't buy this series as being over, but it starts for the Yankees tonight. I mean, they got to win tonight.
Yeah. Ross, do you think they're in real danger of getting swept or a 5-game series?
Well, I've been wrong. I thought the Ravens would kick the crap out of Cleveland yesterday.
So did I.
Wrong. I thought the Yankee big hitters, I think all of them, I think they would have wore out Flaherty and Yamamoto, and I was wrong on that. So it all depends on, the Yanks are, really, their backs are against the wall right now. They're playing in New York, which is good. If they can win 2 out of 3, that will at least give them an opportunity. But I just don't, we don't know what we're going to get out of Buhner. You don't know. He has pitched one good game in the last 5, something like that. But I think the Yankees have, if the Dodgers are smart and they pitch around Soto, take your chances with Stanton and Judge until they show they can do something, because they can obviously be pitched to. Judge, especially the way he's pulling off, he has no chance against a breaking ball.
He is so in between right now, Ross.
He's pulling off everything. Yep. He's just pulling off, and a lot of your lower order of the Yankees, they're not doing a whole lot. Chisholm is somebody that has actually done a little bit, and he's going to steal some bases, which I didn't realize they had that in his arsenal.
Dodgers have a deeper lineup than the Yankees. There's no question about it. Like the bottom third of the Dodgers order, you're getting quality at bats out of guys like Kike Hernandez, Tommy Edman. You're probably not getting much out of Gavin Lux, but
the 4 days off really proved to be a huge benefit to Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, absolutely. On the Yankee side, you've got guys who have really struggled for a while in Austin Wells, Anthony Rizzo,
Volpe is not.
Jazz Chisholm has had a tough postseason. I will say this for Jazz in games 1 and 2, he was up in the 10th inning of game 1 and the 9th inning of game 2 in gotta have it situations, gotta get on, and he managed to get on. So, but other than that, it's been a kind of a tough postseason for him. So Dodgers definitely have a deeper lineup.
And they're fundamentally sound compared to the Yankees, and that's going to mean a lot too.
Difference.
They're not going to beat themselves for the most part. And
you cannot have a play. Gleyber Torres cannot allow that play to happen where they gave Otani the tying run at the time, third base on that play.
Soto had a chance to throw a guy out at the plate from short right field and couldn't do that.
But he came close. Close.
Yeah, he's short right field. I can come close from short right field.
Right. That's going to do it. That's going to do it for today. For Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan, and Luke Jackson. I'm Stan the Fan. Charles at Pressbox, PressBoxOnline.com. Many thanks to the Costas Inn for being with us, and we'll be back next Monday at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Have a great week ahead. Gary Stein and I will resume a sports business huddle tomorrow with Marty Conway and Andy Dolich at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Take care, everybody. Be good.